Good evening, and welcome to Sleep Sanctuary, where calmness and imagination meet to guide you into a restful sleep. Tonight, let us embark on a journey unlike any other, a journey into the heart of a place where forgotten treasures whisper their secrets under a canopy of stars. Settle into your comfort, let the world outside fade, and allow yourself to drift into the embrace of this tale. Breathe in deeply and exhale slowly, letting go of the weight of the day. Tonight, I will take you to a market that comes alive only when the moon is at its fullest, where every step leads to a discovery, and every trinket holds a memory. The night was quiet but alive, with the hum of possibility filling the air. As I walked, guided only by instinct, I found myself drawn to a glow on the horizon, a warm, golden light that seemed to pulse with life. Soon, I arrived at the edge of a market unlike anything I had ever seen. Stalls stood in rows, their canopies glowing with lanterns that danced in the breeze. The air was fragrant with spices, sweet pastries, and the faintest hint of something old, something ancient, like the scent of forgotten books or the earth after rain. The market buzzed softly with life. Merchants beckoned from behind their tables, their wares spread out like treasures waiting to be claimed. There were bottles of glimmering sand that seemed to shift with the light, keys that no longer had locks, and faded photographs of faces no one could name. Each item carried an air of mystery, as if it had once belonged to a story long untold. It was impossible not to feel captivated. My steps were slow, deliberate, as though the market itself had cast a spell, inviting me to linger and explore. The sound of soft music, almost like a lullaby, floated through the air, mingling with the gentle murmur of voices. A merchant caught my eye and nodded, as if they had been expecting me. And then I saw it, a peculiar object on a wooden table glinting faintly under the lantern's light. Something about it called to me, its story waiting to unfold. Tonight, I had stepped into the market of forgotten treasures, and I knew that I would leave forever changed. Before we continue exploring the market of forgotten treasures, let us take a moment to pause and allow ourselves to fully relax. This is your time to let go of any lingering thoughts, to release the day's worries, and to prepare your mind for the journey ahead. Begin by finding a comfortable position, whether seated or lying down. Close your eyes if you wish, and take a deep, slow breath in through your nose. Hold it gently for a moment, and now, exhale softly through your mouth, releasing tension with every breath. Let your shoulders soften and your body sink deeper into comfort. Feel the weight of the day melting away, like the glow of twilight fading into night. Imagine a soft, warm light surrounding you, wrapping you in a cocoon of peace. With each breath, this light grows brighter, filling you with calm and serenity. Picture yourself standing at the entrance of the market once more. The air is crisp and cool, and the gentle flicker of lanterns lights your path. The sounds of the market hum quietly in the background, distant music, soft voices, and the faint rustle of leaves in the breeze. Each sound becomes part of the lullaby of the night, soothing you further into stillness. Breathe deeply again, feeling your chest rise and fall. Let your thoughts drift like clouds, passing effortlessly across the wide expanse of your mind. There is no rush, no expectation, only the quiet rhythm of your breath and the peace of this moment. When you're ready, we will return to the market, where stories and wonders await. But for now, simply rest. Feel the tranquility washing over you, and allow yourself to surrender to its gentle embrace. Before we begin, if you enjoy calming bedtime stories, consider liking this video and subscribing for more relaxing content. Now, let's get back to our story. The night market was alive with an otherworldly charm, its golden light flickering like a quiet heartbeat against the darkness. Lanterns swung gently above each stall, their glow illuminating a myriad of treasures spread out like offerings to an unseen realm. As I stepped further into the market, the hum of voices and the soft strains of distant music enveloped me. The air was thick with a peculiar blend of scents, earthy spices, sweet candied fruits, and something faintly metallic, like coins aged by time. The stalls stretched endlessly in all directions, each a miniature world filled with forgotten trinkets and peculiar objects. At one, an elderly woman sat behind a table piled with intricately carved figurines, each small enough to fit in the palm of my hand. She worked with quiet focus, her hands deftly shaping a new creation from a block of wood. I lingered, watching her for a moment, captivated by the rhythmic tapping of her tools. She glanced up and smiled knowingly, as if she could see a story etched into my own soul. Moving on, I passed a young man juggling glowing orbs that pulsed with shifting colors. He caught one deftly and held it out toward me. For a moment, I hesitated, but when I reached out to touch it, the orb felt warm, almost alive, as though it held something unspoken within it. He said nothing, only winked and turned back to his performance. Each stall seemed to call to me in its own way, whispering stories through its wares. A stack of worn books, their spines cracked and faded, sat in a wooden crate at one booth. I picked one up, flipping through pages filled with a language I couldn't understand, but that felt strangely familiar. Another stall displayed jars filled with shimmering sands that shifted colors when held to the light. The merchant, a wiry man with sharp eyes, claimed they were gathered from dreams. Then I noticed something peculiar, a small stall tucked away at the edge of the market, nearly hidden behind a cluster of larger displays. It didn't have the vibrant energy of the others, but instead a quiet stillness that felt oddly magnetic. As I approached, the merchant, an older man with a face lined by time, nodded in silent acknowledgement. The table before him was sparse, holding only a handful of objects, but each seemed to radiate a sense of purpose. There was a tarnished silver pocket watch, its hands frozen at an odd hour. Beside it lay a music box, its lid half open to reveal a delicate ballerina poised mid-dance. But my eyes were drawn to something else entirely, a compass. It rested on a folded piece of velvet, its brass casing dulled with age. The glass face was scratched, but the needle inside glimmered faintly, as though it had a life of its own. The engravings on its edges were intricate, patterns of stars and swirling winds that seemed to move ever so slightly in the lantern's light. I reached out instinctively, but the merchant raised a hand to stop me. "That compass has a story," he said, his voice low and steady. "It belonged to someone who once found their way when they believed all was lost." The words sent a shiver through me, and I pulled my hand back, unsure of what to say. The merchant smiled faintly, gesturing for me to take my time. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the compass and wondering what kind of journey it had guided before finding its way here. The market seemed to fade around me as I fixated on the object. It wasn't just a tool for navigation, it felt like a doorway, a bridge to something larger than myself. I had no idea what story the merchant would tell, but I knew one thing for certain: this compass had chosen me. The compass seemed alive under the soft glow of the lantern light, its needle trembling faintly, as though it was already pointing toward an untold journey. I couldn't look away, captivated by the intricate engravings and the faint aura of mystery that surrounded it. The merchant, his eyes sharp yet kind, folded his hands on the table and leaned forward slightly. "Ah, the compass has caught your attention," he said, his voice calm and resonant, like the low hum of the market itself. "It does that, it finds those who are meant to carry its story." I hesitated for a moment before asking, "What story does it hold?" The merchant smiled faintly, as if my question had unlocked something deep within him. He gestured for me to take a seat on the small wooden stool beside the stall. "This compass," he began, "belonged to a traveler, a man searching for something far greater than himself. Let me tell you his tale." I leaned in, the bustling market fading to the edges of my awareness as the merchant's voice wove its spell. The traveler, he explained, had been a man weighed down by his past, choices he regretted, opportunities he believed he had lost forever. One day, as he wandered aimlessly through a dense forest, he stumbled upon an elderly woman sitting by a fire. She held the compass in her weathered hands, its needle glinting in the firelight. He told her he was lost, the merchant recounted. Not just in the woods, but in life. She handed him the compass and said, "This will not show you the way, but it will guide you to where you need to be." The traveler had been skeptical at first, but with no other options, he took the compass and set out. Strangely, the needle didn't point north but instead seemed to pull him in different directions, urging him toward paths he might not have chosen on his own. Over time, he began to trust it, following its silent guidance through forests, over mountains, and across unfamiliar landscapes. The compass led him not to a destination, but to encounters that changed his life. He found a small village where he helped rebuild homes after a storm, learning the power of community and kindness. In a bustling port city, he met an old friend he thought he had lost forever, and they reconciled over shared memories. On a quiet mountaintop, he discovered a love for painting, something he had abandoned in his youth. The compass wasn't leading him to a place, the merchant said, his voice softening. It was leading him back to himself. I sat in silence, the weight of the story settling over me like a warm blanket. The idea of a tool that didn't show the way but guided you to where you needed to be felt deeply profound. What happened to the traveler? I asked finally, my voice barely above a whisper. The merchant's expression grew wistful. When he no longer needed the compass, he returned it to the old woman in the forest. But she told him, this compass never truly belongs to anyone. It finds its way to those who need it most. And so, it has traveled ever since, carrying the echoes of its past journeys to guide new ones. I glanced at the compass again, my curiosity now entwined with a strange sense of connection. Why is it here now? The merchant smiled knowingly. Perhaps it has found you because it senses a story within you, waiting to be uncovered. His words lingered in the air, heavy with possibility. The compass seemed to pulse faintly, as if it were listening, waiting. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I felt certain of one thing: this peculiar item had chosen me for a reason. The merchant's story left me with a quiet sense of wonder, a feeling that the compass was more than an object, it was an invitation. I couldn't shake the thought that it had somehow chosen me, just as it had chosen the traveler before me. "I'll take it," I said softly, almost as if the decision wasn't entirely mine to make. The merchant nodded with approval, his weathered hands carefully wrapping the compass in a piece of velvet cloth. "It's yours now," he said. "But remember, it doesn't show you where to go. It guides you to what you need." With the compass now in my possession, I left the stall, weaving through the market with a sense of anticipation. The vibrant energy of the market seemed to shift around me, each stall now brimming with unspoken stories, their wares holding secrets only those willing to listen could hear. As I walked, I felt a subtle pull from the compass tucked in my pocket. It was strange, almost imperceptible, but enough to draw me in a particular direction. I allowed myself to follow it, trusting its quiet guidance. The lanterns above cast soft shadows as I moved deeper into the market, past stalls I hadn't noticed before. One displayed tiny bottles of liquid that shimmered like captured starlight. Another featured an array of keys, each unique, as though they could unlock doors to forgotten worlds. But the compass urged me forward, beyond the glimmering trinkets and colorful wares, toward a quieter corner of the market. Finally, I arrived at a stall unlike the others. It was smaller, simpler, almost unassuming. The table was draped in a faded cloth, and on it lay a single item, a book, its cover worn and its pages yellowed with age. The merchant, a middle-aged woman with a kind face, greeted me with a gentle smile. "You found it," she said, as though she had been waiting for me. "Found what?" I asked, feeling the compass in my pocket grow warm, as if affirming her words. She gestured to the book. "This is what the compass has led you to, a story that intertwines with your own." I hesitated, unsure of what to do. The woman nodded encouragingly. "Go ahead. Open it." I picked up the book, its weight surprisingly heavy for its size. The cover bore no title, only an intricate pattern of stars, much like the engravings on the compass. As I opened it, I found not a printed story, but handwritten entries, sketches, and maps. It belonged to a traveler long ago, the woman explained. Each page holds a fragment of their journey, a moment of discovery, hardship, and hope. But the strange thing is, the book isn't complete. I flipped through the pages, noticing blank sections scattered throughout the entries. They seemed to invite something more, as though the book was waiting to be finished. "What am I supposed to do with it?" I asked, looking up at her. She smiled enigmatically. "The compass led you here because the story isn't done. Perhaps it's waiting for you to add to it." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. The idea of continuing a stranger's journey, of weaving my own experiences into a tale that had begun long before me, felt both daunting and thrilling. I tucked the book under my arm and nodded my thanks to the woman. As I stepped away from the stall, I felt the compass's pull again, subtle but certain, leading me back into the heart of the market. The night was still alive with possibilities, and I realized that the journey the compass had set me on was only just beginning. The market seemed to glow brighter as I walked with the book tucked under my arm and the compass resting warmly in my pocket. Every stall I passed now felt infused with deeper meaning, each item whispering stories I couldn't quite hear but somehow knew were there. Yet, I couldn't stop thinking about the book, the unfinished entries, the blank pages, and the quiet expectation they seemed to hold. I found a quiet spot near a fountain at the edge of the market. Its soft trickle of water was a calming backdrop to the hum of the night. I opened the book again, its worn pages whispering against my fingers as I turned them. The entries were written in an elegant, looping script, and the sketches, though faded, held a striking level of detail. The first page told of a traveler who had set out with nothing but the compass, guided not by a destination, but by a sense of curiosity and a need for purpose. Their journey began in a forest much like the one the merchant had described, a place shrouded in mist and mystery. As I read, I noticed something strange. The words seemed to ripple faintly, as though alive, and the sketches shimmered briefly under the lantern light. The next page described an encounter with a small village nestled in the mountains, where the traveler had stayed for weeks, helping the villagers rebuild after a devastating landslide. It wasn't just a story of labor but of connection, sharing meals, laughter, and moments of quiet reflection by the fire. The traveler had left the village with a handmade scarf gifted by an elderly woman who told them, "When you wear this, remember that you are never truly alone." I ran my fingers over the sketch of the scarf, marveling at the care with which it had been drawn. Then, something extraordinary happened. As my touch lingered, I felt a faint warmth, as if the memory of the fire in that mountain village had been brought back to life. The pages continued to chronicle the traveler's journey, meeting strangers who became friends, facing challenges that tested their resolve, and discovering hidden places that seemed to exist only for those willing to seek them. But then, I reached a blank section. The sudden emptiness felt jarring, as though the story had been abruptly paused. The compass, still warm in my pocket, seemed to pulse gently, drawing my attention away from the book. I took it out and held it in my hand, watching as the needle trembled and then pointed in a direction just beyond the fountain. Curiosity pulled me to my feet, and I followed the compass's guidance through the winding paths of the market. The lanterns above swayed softly in the breeze, their golden light casting shifting patterns on the cobblestones. I felt a growing sense of anticipation, as though I was on the verge of discovering something important. The compass led me to a stall at the very edge of the market, almost hidden in shadow. The merchant here was an older man with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. His stall was sparse, displaying only a few small objects, a weathered journal, a single feather, and a polished stone that glimmered faintly. "Ah," he said, his voice low and soothing. "The compass has brought you to me." I placed the book on the table and asked, "Do you know about this? And why it feels incomplete?" The man studied the book with a thoughtful expression. "This book is a thread," he explained, "a thread that connects stories, past, present, and future. The blank pages aren't an absence, they're an invitation. The compass chose you because your story is meant to continue this one." I felt a shiver of recognition, as though his words had unlocked something within me. "But how?" I asked. The man smiled gently. "By living it," he said. "The compass will guide you to moments that matter, places where your story will intertwine with others. When the time feels right, you'll know what to write." His words lingered in my mind as I left the stall. The night market felt different now, less like a collection of trinkets and more like a living tapestry, each stall a thread that added to the greater whole. And I was a part of it. The compass pulsed softly in my hand, and I knew this was only the beginning. The market seemed quieter now, though its energy was far from diminished. It was as if the night had settled into a calm rhythm, the hum of conversation and the faint clink of trinkets forming a soothing melody. The book felt heavier in my hands, not from its weight, but from the responsibility it carried, a responsibility I hadn't fully understood until now. I wandered aimlessly, letting the compass guide me once more. The needle trembled, pointing steadily toward the heart of the market. I passed stalls that seemed to glow brighter than before, their wares humming with an unspoken energy. The realization struck me, every item here was a piece of someone's story, an artifact of a life once lived, waiting to be passed on to someone else. As I followed the compass, I came to a stall where an elderly woman sat weaving a tapestry. The thread shimmered like liquid silver and gold, intertwining in patterns that seemed almost alive. She looked up as I approached, her eyes warm and wise. "You carry a story," she said, her voice soft but resonant. I hesitated, unsure how to respond. "I'm trying to understand it," I admitted, holding up the book. She nodded knowingly. "The market brought you here for a reason," she said. "Everything here has a story, but not all stories are complete. Some need a traveler to carry them forward, to breathe new life into what has been left behind." She gestured to her tapestry. "This is the market story," she explained. "Every thread is a tale woven into the fabric of the night, connected to the lives that pass through here. Perhaps your thread belongs here too." Her words resonated deeply, and I found myself asking, how do I know what my thread is? How do I find my place in the story? She smiled, her hands never pausing in their work. "By listening," she said simply. "The market speaks to those who are willing to hear. And the compass, it will always guide you to what matters." I thanked her and moved on, her words echoing in my mind. The compass led me to another stall, this one run by a young man with a collection of jars filled with swirling, colorful lights. "Memories," he said when he caught my curious gaze. "Each jar holds a memory that someone left behind. They glow brightest when they find someone who needs them." I felt a pull toward one jar in particular, a soft blue light that pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. When I reached out to touch it, the light grew brighter, warming my fingertips. "This one belongs to you," the man said, handing me the jar. I opened it cautiously, and the light spilled out, wrapping around me in a gentle embrace. Images flickered before my eyes, scenes of joy, sorrow, and quiet moments of reflection. They weren't just memories of others, they were fragments of my own life, moments I had forgotten or overlooked. The realization was overwhelming. The market wasn't just a place of forgotten treasures, it was a mirror reflecting back the stories we carry within ourselves. With the jar now empty in my hands, I returned to the book. The blank pages no longer felt intimidating. They felt like an opportunity, a space waiting to be filled with the stories I had yet to live and the connections I had yet to make. The compass pulsed again, its needle pointing toward the edge of the market. I followed without hesitation, feeling a newfound sense of purpose. The stalls began to thin out, the lanterns casting longer shadows as I neared the boundary of this enchanting place. As I walked, I realized that the market wasn't just a destination, it was a journey. Each step, each stall, each encounter had been a thread in the tapestry, leading me to this moment. And though the market would soon fade behind me, its stories would remain, woven into the fabric of my own life. The compass grew still in my hand, its needle no longer pointing, as if to say, "The rest is up to you." The edge of the market was quiet, where the vibrant hum of stalls gave way to a calm stillness. The path ahead was dimly lit, the lantern swaying softly as if urging me forward. I turned back for a moment, watching the glow of the market fade into the distance. Though I was leaving, I knew I would carry it with me, etched into my heart like the ink on the pages of the book. The compass rested silently in my pocket now, its needle no longer trembling. It had brought me here, guided me to the stories waiting to be uncovered, and now it seemed content, as though it had fulfilled its purpose. The book, however, felt alive in my hands. Its pages, once blank and heavy with expectation, now seemed to hum softly, as if in anticipation of the stories still to come. I walked along the path, the cool night air wrapping around me. The stars above were scattered like jewels, each one a reminder of the countless lives and stories that existed in the vastness of the world. The market, I realized, was just one piece of this tapestry, a glimpse into the connections that bind us all. As I continued, I noticed a faint glow in the distance. It was not the light of the market but something softer, more ethereal. Drawn to it, I found myself standing before a small clearing where a single tree stood, its branches adorned with shimmering ribbons. Each ribbon fluttered gently, glowing faintly in the moonlight. The sight was mesmerizing, and I felt an undeniable pull toward it. Stepping closer, I noticed that each ribbon had a name written on it in elegant script. Some names were unfamiliar, while others sparked faint recollections, like echoes of people I had met or moments I had shared. A ribbon near the base of the tree caught my eye. It was tied loosely, its glow pulsing faintly, as if waiting to be noticed. When I reached out and touched it, a wave of warmth washed over me. Memories flooded my mind, not just of the market, but of my life beyond it. I saw the faces of those I had loved, the places I had traveled, and the moments of quiet reflection that had shaped who I was. The ribbon seemed to whisper, "Your story is part of theirs, and theirs is part of yours." It was a profound realization. The market hadn't just given me the stories of others, it had reminded me of my own, urging me to see the connections I had overlooked and the impact I had made without even realizing it. I gently tied the ribbon back to the tree, its glow growing steadier as if in gratitude. Turning back to the path, I felt a deep sense of peace. The market, the compass, the book, and the tree, they were all pieces of a larger whole, reminders of the beauty in life's interconnectedness. As I walked away, I felt the weight of the book shift slightly in my hands. Opening it, I saw that the blank pages were no longer intimidating, they were an invitation. The market had given me its treasures, and now it was my turn to continue the story. Sitting on a smooth rock beneath the starlit sky, I took out a pen and began to write. The words flowed effortlessly, not just recounting the tales I had discovered, but weaving them with my own reflections and hopes. I didn't need the compass anymore, its work was done. The path ahead was mine to forge, guided by the lessons I had learned and the stories I would continue to tell. As the night deepened, I closed the book, its pages now alive with new meaning. The market was far behind me, but its magic lingered, woven into my being. "Rest well," I whispered to the night, the words carrying the calm I felt. "And may your dreams be as enchanting as the stories we've shared." And with that, I rose and continued on my journey, the stars lighting the way as the first hints of dawn touched the horizon. Thank you for listening. If this story helped you relax, please like the video and subscribe for more. Sweet dreams.